All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. My name is E.R. Anderson. I'm the executive director of Charis Circle. Charis Circle is a nonprofit programming arm of Charis Books, and Charis Books is the South's oldest independent feminist bookstore. We're so excited to be here for the debut launch of On Sundays She Picked Flowers. Yay! We are here with the author, Yah Yah Scholfield, in conversation with Ra Malika Imhotep. And it's one of my great joys as a bookseller and a community person to get to help launch books into the world, especially for debut authors. It's such a big deal. And it is a really, really, really great honor. So I see you breathing deeply. No, I know. I know you're good. So we're going to all breathe with you and just hold this moment with you because it is just a really special thing to have worked so hard and to bring a book into the world, especially a novel, because the world is not always kind to our stories. And so for you to make this book and bring it into the world and to celebrate it and launch it at Charis, we're very excited for you and very grateful. So I just want to welcome everybody who's watching here with us physically in Atlanta and Decatur, and also everybody who's watching online. We got folks from all over the world watching online, which is great. So we're going to get right into it. I do want to encourage folks, if they have questions online, to drop them in the chat at any time. And for folks who are here, when the time comes, I'll bring a microphone around to you. I'm going to read the bios real quick so you know who is in this room with us. So Ra Malika Imhotep is a PhD. They use Ra, they, them, or doll pronouns. Ra is a Black feminist writer and cultural worker from Atlanta, Georgia. They received their PhD in African Diaspora Studies and New Media Studies from the University of California, Berkeley, and are currently an assistant professor of global African diaspora studies at Spelman College. Their work looks at the ways Black feminine figures across the African diaspora subvert preconceived notions about Black womanhood and labor through aesthetic practice. They are the author of the poetry collection Gossipin and co-convener of the Church of Black Feminist Thought and a member of the Black Aesthetic Curatorial Collective. So we're very glad to have Ra here. Welcome. And the person of the hour is Yah Yah Scholfield. Yah Yah's work has been featured in a number of horror and speculative fiction magazines and anthologies, including Violet Mag and Death in the Mouth Volume 1. They've also published a short story collection, Just a Little Snack. When they're not terrifying innocents, Yah Yah is a professional stay-at-home daughter in Atlanta with their cats, Sophie and Chihiro, right? Say it right? Okay. All right. So we're going to get right into it, but I'm so glad that y'all are here. You're going to love this book. It's also great on audio. I've been listening to it on audio. They did a really good job with that. So yeah, let's get right into it, y'all. Welcome.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here with you.
I'm happy to be here too.
We were talking a bit before we got started, and I was sharing that I have not been in conversation with a fiction author for Charis before. And so when I got the email, I was kind of like, mm-hmm. And the more that I read the description and the setting, and I was like, like, yes,
like,
I have to spend some time with this work. So I'm so thrilled to be celebrating this debut with you, and your excitement is contagious. So I just want to say that for you. And then I want to pass it to you to bring us into the world with an excerpt.
Yah Yah Scholfield, I am sweating up a storm of happy excitement. I'd like to, if you guys don't mind, read a little bit for you from the second part of On Sunday She Picked Flowers, summer 1978. Monday she toiled, Wednesday she sold, but on Sundays, clean and holy, Jude picked flowers. I don't want to get too much into it.
That's how you want to get the people, period. Yes. On Sunday she picked flowers.
Let's get to the why.
Oh, what a tease. Like, I was like ready, and you're like, actually, let's to begin, let's talk about, let's see if I sound okay. to begin, let's talk about what it feels like to be having your debut as a novelist. Like, what is that like doing for you?
So I started writing this book when I was like 17 years old. It was like the first very big piece of fiction that I wrote. I wrote like smaller things before, but nothing this big. And I think when I first wrote it, it was like a pretentious teenager's idea of what good fiction could look like. But with age and with experience and with reading, I feel it's matured into such a big grown thing. This feels like becoming grown, if that makes any sense at all. This feels like I was a kid before, but publishing this, having this dream I've had since I was literally in the second grade come true. It's like, oh, I'm a grown kid now. I'm grown now. Like, it's so real. Yeah.
So in your publishing adolescence, what were some of those projects, or what were some of those projects like?
I think in that time I was trying to be softer or kinder. I have this vision of myself in my head, and I worry that some people have a vision of me as like very dark and scary and like murderous. But so when I was writing my horror, I was thinking like, okay, but how to soften this? How to make it like palatable and a little less tummy achy than I would go for. But I'm finding as I'm revisiting certain pieces, and even in the last like past 2 years, seeing the difference from like, oh, it's okay. They can be like a little bit of a happy, joyful, happy ever after ending that can be appealing. It maybe makes me look less spooky. And just coming into a season and understanding of myself that yes, my thoughts can be very dark, but the world is also very dark. And by illuminating those dark spots of me, maybe I can get some of the weight off. If that tracks in me more. I swear I will try not to be like, if that makes sense, if that makes sense. I know I'm making sense.
Yeah, yes. You're making profound revelatory sense, not even just like a little bit.
Guys, is that okay?
Yeah, no, this actually is a perfect flow into the conversation I wanted to have about genre.
Yes.
Right. In addition to it being my first like fiction book that I'm engaging in this capacity, I didn't think of myself as somebody who read horror works.
Yeah.
But the more I thought about it and looking at your liner notes, which I hope we'll talk more about in a minute, I realized that so much of the body of what I consider like Black feminist literature
is horror.
Right? But it's not, bracketed that way in the stores or sold that way, or even conceptually understood that way by those of us who love it. Yeah. So I would love to hear your thoughts on like Black horror writing, Black women's writing, etc.
So there's this like thing that Screaming Jay Hawkins said where he's like, so goth, I was born Black. I think that being Black, especially being Black and Southern, is inherently a Gothic. It's very inherently Gothic, considering the architecture, the crumbling architecture, the ghosts we carry around, the very bloody history of being Black in America and being Black, period. But when I think of like Blackness and the horror genre, I think, of course, of Toni Morrison's Beloved. Is never going to be like seen in the popular eye as a horror novel, but it is. There is a ghost, there is a violent, bloody death, there is the crumbling architecture of the plantation, of the house 124. There's all these threads to the past, and the major theme I feel of what all Gothic horror is, or the Gothic genre is you can never run away from your past. And wherever you go, you take you with you. And I feel like that's a major part of like pretty much every major piece of Black feminist, Black women's writing. I think you could say that thread can be found in Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston, and The Color Purple, and Those Bones Are Not My Child by Toni Cade Bambara. But I love how like you can't escape it. Being Black and being a Black woman, especially being a Black woman in the South, you can't escape being a horror writer. Even when you're not writing horror, you're writing horror.
Mm-hmm. Right, because all those books you listed aren't just, fiction.
Yeah.
Many of them are rooted in some historical retelling. Like, not many people actively connect Beloved to the archival story of Margaret Garner.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And this real life tragedy.
Yeah.
That Morrison is working and reimagining. And yeah, I think there's also something, as you were saying, about the U.S. South and being so close to the literal geographies of enslavement that shape this horror
mood, genre, everything.
Yeah, this horror reality.
To be completely fair, I understood it just like, the black gesture of like, no wig.
This horror aura.
Yes, the horror vibe, the horror aura, the horror aura.
Yes, absolutely. Let me look back at my notes. I'm so delighted.
I'm really loving seeing these notes.
I gotta get ready. I have to do my due diligence.
And truly, everyone on Instagram, TikTok, everyone, let me see your annotations.
Yes,
let me look at your notes.
We want the tabs, references, the underline. When you start to feel those hints of those other Black feminist literary texts.
Yes. I do want to annotate my own version that I have at home, just to have my own little oh yeah, I was spitting there, but also, but more humble.
Yeah. Well, hey,
I'm sorry.
It's your book.
It is my book.
And I do just want to say, to the readers out there, that your reverence for that tradition of Black women writing against history, about history, to articulate and digest history is so clear. As I was reading, I could I'd be like, "Ooh, there go Tony. Ooh, there go Beloved. Ooh, there go Alice." I could literally
And I hope that would be the case.
No,
and I really, really hope that people will read it and be like, "This lady loves being Black."
Yes,
and I do.
And well read.
Hello, hello.
I love it, and just to think you've now contributed to that canon.
That's what's. Don't say that to me. Don't make me cry.
Don't make me cry. That's a fact. So, what do you think about gore? What is the role? As I was trying to, process this question and be like, well, what might make horror distinct from, Black women writing trauma or Black women digesting history? And I was like, is it gore?
I don't even think it is, because your average piece of Black feminist literature, Black women literature in general, the blood is always there. Mm-hmm. Sorry to bring up Tony again, but Tony, the blood flows through it. And you cannot have a proper story about Blackness without mentioning blood and guts and viscera. Even with nonfiction, one of my favorite pieces of nonfiction, which is because I talk a lot about cannibalism in all of my works, a huge piece of work that has inspired that and really focused my thinking is The Delectable Negro by Vincent E. Woodard. That's a piece of beautiful nonfiction, first of all, but also it's gory as hell. And when you read it, and you read it divorced from the context of this is a historical piece of fiction talking about the way Black bodies are viewed, you're like, this is disgusting. What do you mean? This is nasty. And it's gorier and more splattery than any splatterpunk can ever imagine. But I think that's just the case with history in general and life in general. It's always gorier than what you can put in a book or what you think you can put in a book. But yes, sorry, I feel like I've diverged from your question. I think there is no difference. I think all good writing has blood in it, but I think the mark of horror is putting the gore front and center. And with Black horror in particular, is putting the gore front and center and then contextualizing it and getting deeper about it. Because it's easy to be okay, Jude's mother slammed her head against the wall. And I think if you're reading that normally, you're like, oh wow, that's a really good horror statement. But when you think about it in the context of her being Black, of her being 41 and still living at home, and with the threads of slavery and the pain of her family history, it's like it's not just a smack against the wall. It's her telling another woman like stay in your place and stay down, always with the threat of like societal punishment and punishment from like the big specter of her grandfather in the house.
Right. Yeah. Who laid the tiles.
Who laid the tiles
of baby. That house. I want to ask a question about setting, but first I'll pivot to there's a dedication and there's a little trigger warning here. Yeah. But would you like to read the dedication and
Yes. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna keep it tough. It's cool. So the dedication reads, to my Nana, Lydia Olivia Colston, who blessed me with her fire and my warped mind. So I actually started writing this book a year after my Nana passed. Well, actually the year my Nana passed. She passed 2016. Oh my goodness. When I tell you there is nobody else on earth, like there was nobody else on this earth like my Nana. She was also an Aries. She had this like spitfire personality. She was 93 when she passed. She was the matriarch of the family. Everybody loved her. You can come into her room and lay on her bed and just her energy and her smell. But I also got my warped and twisted mind from her. Because she loved herself a horror show. Not much horror. She loved herself a crime show. She loved true crime. She loved to watch an unsolved mystery. She would like, it would be 10 in the morning. We'd be like, Nanny, you ready to watch your shows? And she'd be like, it's too early for murders. Absolutely iconic woman. And I think of all her brilliantness and wonderfulness and her kindness and gentleness, but I also think of like the old family story that she was upset at my grandma. So she hit her on the head with a stiletto and like the blood shot up to the top of the ceiling. And my grandma was out for like a little bit. And the only reason my Nana knew she was okay is because she like shook her awake and said, go get some Chinese food. And I think of that balance of the knowing that someone knowing someone as like sweet and loving and kind. And when I think of her, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to be a grandma like my great granny was. But also knowing that she had that violence in her that was hers, but was passed down to her by her father and her father's father and her mother and her mother's mother. Because my great grandma's dad was half Native and grew up on a reservation. But knowing that like that thread of violence follows through and is in me, because both sides of my family are a little bit touched, is what we'll say. Yeah, anointed with maybe not the holiest of oil. But knowing that violence is in me, but knowing that you can make the choice to not let that violence out is very fascinating. And I think I do love dedicating my work to her, and especially this work to her, because it feels like the perfect encapsulation of Nana. She quilted. She loved flowers. She had the softest hands and feet in the entire world. She smelled like youth dew and peppermint and tiger balm. But she was also a cruel mother. And I love that about her. Yeah.
It reminds me of Hortense Spillers once was speaking at this like Black Studies at 50s conference at Brandeis, and she said you have to mount the contradiction. Yeah. And she said a bunch of other brilliant. Yes, because that's who she is. But that idea of like mounting the contradictions was so like alive and erotic to me almost. But I think it speaks to, as you were saying about horror, like you can't escape the past, right? Yeah. You can't escape yourself. And you refuse to escape.
No, I can't. Right? And I don't want to. I want to do better, but it's always going to be in me.
Right. And what a gift that you have this craft that you use to like process and weed through all that. So as we move further into the conversation and deeper about the themes on the book, I do want to share, as you share with your readers, that on Sunday she picks flowers, engages with topics of physical, verbal, and emotional abuse, as well as anti-Black violence, cannibalism, and semi-explicit references to incest, self-harm, and child death.
Yeah.
And I will say this was some of like the most vivid and honestly like
tummy hurty?
No, I was going to say relatable. Descriptions of
abuse.
abuse and self-harm
Yeah.
and the like impulses.
Are we the same person?
I'm just, you know,
Sister, are we cousins?
naming what is happening, you know.
Yes.
And it reminds me of, like, I read Corregidora by Gail Jones, and I like had to throw the book because I was like, this character's internal monologue sounding like mine. I need to get out this relationship and change my life around. And so there's something about, right?
Yeah.
The way you, again, in this tradition, are able to offer up something of that like internal self negation drive that our Black femme entanglements with the horrible everyday beget. Oof.
Yes. That's my response. Oof. Yes.
Very oof. Very oof.
Church, can we just get a
Thank you.
Turn to your neighbor, say ooh.
Hello. Setting.
So
another moment where I had to throw this book is when you reveal that these characters are in a 1965, or at least begin in a 1965 version of a neighborhood called Vine City, which happens to be where I call home.
What's up?
And so it seems that we are both from West Atlanta.
We are both from West Atlanta, from West End, baby. I went to in Magnus Jones, and before I started homeschool, I went to Brown Middle.
Yeah. I love that because, you know, it's rare that you read about two of the things you do. Like, you talk about Atlanta, but like not like one of the most like noteworthy or popular neighborhoods, right? But shout out to Vine City, Zone 1. You also talk about rural Georgia and not just coastal Georgia, which like you give a new geography to this canon of literature that we.
And I give such a horrible reveal, and I just talked about it on the podcast I did, Talking Scared. I have not once been to the Okefenokee Forest.
Huh. It happened.
I've never been there.
Well, so what took your imagination there?
So originally I wanted Jude to go to northern Georgia, right? Because I was like, it's nice, it's secluded, we have those big forests. But then I was like, oh, we don't have black bears up there. So when I say literally the only reason we're in the swamp is because I said I want alligators and I want there to be bears. So there's my reveal.
I love it though. And you know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. See, I got me a uncorrected proof here.
Where it
still says Northern Georgia. And I was sitting here with this book.
I was like, are you sure?
Like, but she drives south.
But there was, and so let's swap versions.
No, but I mean, you spoke to it, right?
Yeah.
And because initially, you know, I was actually talking to ER. I have an elder named Dr. Doris Diosa Davenport, whose birthday is coming up. She passed a few years ago. And while I can't say she would be a fan of horror, because she had her, you know, some of our elders are like,
they don't be liking horror.
They like too much trauma. It's we lived it, we don't want to read it again. But I do think that, you know, she was a wild woman of North Georgia. So when I first read that, I was like, okay, I know what this is.
I know who she is.
And still, because everything you do in the house, in the swamp, still kind of gives that, like, way that Georgia folks be touched.
Yes.
You know, I think we have to claim it.
It's just a little bit touched. Just a little bit, but you can't help it. It's weird down here. It's very weird down here.
Very much. Very much. Is there anything else you'd like to say about the setting or the house, Candle?
Oh, I love talking about Candle. So I like houses that have personalities, and beyond houses that like personalities, I like it when it's not just the person that's haunted, but when the house is haunted. More than when the house is haunted, I like when a land is haunted. I read The Haunting of Hill House when I was like maybe 18. Beautiful book, blew my brains. I actually read it after I read the first draft of this, so I had no clue. I was like, wait, copycat.
Inspired.
But yeah, but I like, there's a part in Hill House where she's talking about how, like, it's not just that the house is sick and that the house is built wrong, the land is sick. And what I like about On Sundays and about Candle and about Jude's mother's house is that the land they're built on is quite literally sick. With Candle, it used to be a plantation. It has all sorts of black blood soaked into that soil. I think I can find a description if you don't mind. If I may digress.
I feel that it's worth it.
Just have some gentle organ music playing in the back while we flip through these pages. Oh, there's a lot of pages. Good God.
You wrote a book. A book full length.
Like full length. Okay, I think I can find it. I got y'all. I got it. Okay. Yeah. It's when Jude first gets into the house. Yes, it's when Jude first gets into the house. Okay. The house waited patiently for Jude to address it, and she turned to it slowly. It was a plain house, all splintered columns and discolored wood, its disorder like a caul over a newborn's face. Jude broke through it to enter her new home, and immediately she knew that every story told about it was true. Yes, there were haints in the cellar, ghouls trapped up in the bricks and behind the wallpaper, stashed like jewels beneath the floorboard and crowded up the chimney. Yes, of course, there were spirits there, malignant and benign, festering in the well, clogging the pipes. The ground, steep with black blood, released noxious gases. Up they rose through mud and rock to squat over the house, to sicken it and its inhabitants. Malevolent and sticky, left too long to stew in its ugliness, the house churned as it adjusted to Jude's presence. Jude, nauseous and vertiginous, felt the house's discomfort as her own. Together, woman and walls reeled with the sensation of invasion. I just love the concept of a house being like, you have to learn a house, but a house has to learn you as well. And just as you warp the house to your taste, you put your furniture in, you make it your own, the house is also shifting you. I think a equivalence I made recently, I totally forgot the word, but it was called a simile, maybe? That's probably closer to what I'm thinking. Was like, you get used to a house, but also in the summer, I know the door to the bathroom sticks, so I have to adjust how hard I tug it, which is the house like making me change my moves and my ways too. It's like moving around a post. Yes. I was gonna be like, yeah.
Absolutely. No, that's incredible. Also, you reading that passage reminded me of something else from your liner notes. I know you are also a fan of the 1998 film adaptation of Beloved, which a lot of people don't like.
People don't like. It's okay. People are allowed to be wrong.
But hello, and I bring that up because one of the many things I think that film does well is animate like how the inanimate objects in the house are like
alive,
right? There's like red lights flashing, the
everything's moving
all over the place. Yeah, so I again, I'm telling you, your reference for these like cultural touchstones is so clear in the prose. So on to the juicy treat that might seem like it is from another universe. Let's talk about writing lesbian desire. And
hell yeah!
That intersects
with horror. Hell yeah! So when I first wrote on Sundays, like I said, I was a teenager and I was like really shy. I was like, I'm shy. Mind you, my AO3 account was bumping. But I was like, I'm shy. But writing this new era of being like the world's most celibate nun and her desires. Of being like, what would it be like and what would it feel like if you had never ever had a chance to experience any facet of your desires? Like every part of you felt like ashamed and closed off. You're just like up in your house, in your mama's room. You don't even know what magic wands are yet. And you just have to like take all that like desire into the woods, and then you have this chance to let it all out with a woman who's like bestial and lets like the animal in you out as well. I thought it was very fun to write. But also I was like, when I was writing the scenes, I was also like, I need a minute. Like, was this too much? I'm glad to know it's not too much. And if it is too much, I'm grown.
But I mean, hello, we was talking about the color purple and
right,
the and way
that is like the guidepost
and the pushing the buttons and stuff.
Push the button.
Okay, hello.
People don't appreciate the musical. People don't appreciate the musical enough. It just made me think of the song.
I was
No, they didn't have it in the movie.
They did not have it in the movie.
That's one of the best songs of the
I know.
entire musical.
It's tragic.
See,
we have some gripes. Another rural Georgia story, but I say all that to say, yes, and I also thought about Beloved again, reading that first sex scene between Namora and Jude, because in the same way that Paul D brings like such tender care and like sweet kiss to set the scars, her choke territory on her back with Namora, you got Namora offers that same loving care to Jude's body.
That scene. I haven't thought about it forever.
It's stunning. And I mean, you know, the pivot here is that Jude's scars, whereas, you know, Setha's scars are very plainly from slave masters and the terror of enslavement. Jude's scars are from self and family.
But it's kind of fun because it is enslavement in its own sense. Enslaved to her own self, enslaved to her mother, to the memory of her mother, to the memory of her grandfather. Like, you can never, if you never purposely break the chain won't get broken. Like, if you never purposely say, I'm putting down the whip, I'm putting down the plow, I'm coming out of these, I'm already been freed on a legal level. Now it's time to free myself on a mental, physical level. Then it's just gonna stay on you. Like, it won't be broken. It won't be, nothing will change because you're still like, you still feel like you're owned by somebody, even if that somebody is like a past version of you. Was that too scary for the crowd?
No, it wasn't scary at all, unless my, you know, sensitive warped, you know, very Morrisonian. Here we are still. So everybody, this is a companion to Beloved. I will say officially now.
It's Beloved's cousin. It's their grandmama.
Because I think, you know, in what you were just saying, I thought about Baby Suggs in the clearing, right? Where she literally is like, I need you to touch and love your neck because they wanted noosed over there, which is horrific.
Like, love your back, love your strong arms, not just for what they can do, because they can hug somebody and love somebody. Whoa.
And love your life-giving practice. Like, all of it.
Truly, I was thinking about Baby Suggs in the clearing when I thought about Jude with her Sunday ritual. That is her version of going into the clearing, and that's her version of prayer and going to church.
Right, her not prayer.
Yes.
Yeah, she creates her own ritual within the shape of the house. Do you think that does the house guide her in creating that ritual process, or is that something she brings to the house?
I think they figured it out together. Someone actually on the Talking Scared podcast, he was describing it as like the house is almost like a child, and it is, and just like a parent has to, like, parents have to learn their children, and Jude is like learning the house, and the house is teaching about herself as well. So I think it was very much like this is what I need. The house is telling her, this is what I need, so I'm comfortable with you. And Jude's also going, and this is what I'm going to do to make sure I'm comfortable with you. Okay.
How did we get to Candle as the name for?
I just thought it was sexy.
Well,
I didn't give it a name throughout any of the other iterations, but it felt like it made perfect sense. Like, yes, a Gothic house needs a name, and of course it will be called Candle because it's lighting her way. She's lit up. It's bright. It's warm. It's comfortable. It is a beacon for all the mobs and dark stuff. And it's also comfort. Like a candle in the wind.
Gorgeous.
Yes.
Gorgeous. It's so well thought out, this book here. You really like built this world.
I really did that, didn't I?
Yeah, it is. And every time you say something, I'm like, wow, like I feel like speechless almost. That's why I'm glad I have these notes here, okay?
I'm just winging
it. Brilliantly. But that's because you've done the work, so you can just like relax.
That's true.
The brilliance just
I thought about this the whole time, actually, guys. We planned this entire interaction. Sherlock style.
What? I want to ask about, you know, we were talking about horror. You were talking about wanting to write things that weren't so like tummy aching.
Yeah.
I would love to hear about like what is your somatic experience of writing horror? Like, do you get those ticks and tickles and
I do. So here's the thing about me. I've always really loved horror, but I'm also a major scaredy cat for like real life situations. I have seriously very nasty bad anxiety, the world's nastiest inherited case of OCD. So horror is a place where the scares are real, but because they're unreal, and I know I can just like close the book, shut down the computer, I can turn away from the screen, it's manageable. But when I'm writing horror, I do feel like the tension and terror in my chest and in my stomach, and I do feel like the shortness of breath of like, oh my God. And I know I've really got into a good place with a scare or any sort of scene, not just of like being scary, but of being terrifying. When I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna be able to sleep for a little bit. This is really upsetting. But I say like I'm trying to make my stuff less tummy hurty in the past, but I've come to appreciate and really love how cathartic a tummy ache can be, and really how cathartic a good scare can be. Like, I can't control what's happening outside of me. I can't control that we are like not even descending into fascism, that we are in pure fascist dictatorship hell. I can't control that. I can make movements and improvements within my community. I can think local. I can act globally. Sorry, act locally, think globally. But I do not have the power to change the entire structure of the United States as much as I wish I could. But I can control the fear of a vampire. I can control the fear of darkness. I can control the fear of something or somebody standing behind me in fiction. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And because those monsters come from our history,
Yeah.
I think, like you're saying, the catharsis of the tummy ache,
And
not that it has to be, made political, but I think because you're writing Black,
can't escape it.
Can't escape it. Because what does it mean to like really like reimagine survival, or life otherwise, as your characters here do in their like retreat into Candle.
Yeah. And I think that is a really fun aspect about writing while Black, writing horror while Black. It's something that Jordan Peele said when he was talking about Get Out, how he originally planned for the car to be a cop car coming up and Chris goes to prison, and how he thought, oh God, it's 2016. We can't handle that right now. We can't handle that kind of stress. And like, was it 2016 or was it 2014? One of those years. Either way, it was like, that's too much for Black people to have right now, to see a Black man survive this horror and then go to prison. So being Black and writing horror is that moment of seeing the cop car and seeing the lights and then seeing your Black friend come out the car and be like, I'm come to save you. It's the catharsis of knowing like,
right, because you still feel it.
Like, you're still like, oh, that could have got you. But then knowing like, you made it. And the horror and like the trauma of the experience is still there, but like, at least you ain't going to prison. At least they didn't get you.
Right, you get to heal that other stuff without being fed to the monster of mass incarceration.
Yeah, like Jude makes out her mother's house. She does. And she outlasts and survives many things. And she doesn't outlast and survive other things. But it's still like, she hasn't been hung. The people in the town have not come to string her up. She makes it through. She survives, or not so much survives, she manages the anti-Blackness of where she is. And she comes out of it in a true Final Girl fashion. Yay.
Yeah, and not even just the anti-Blackness, the like tacit homophobia.
No,
like,
they're so nasty.
Y'all out there being, y'all ain't got no men in the house. What's going on? So they do find a space of not necessarily like retreat, but they craft an elsewhere for them.
They make their own freedom and decide what their own peace looks like.
Yes, come on, Maroons. I love that. It's so good. I wonder about, you talking about that, like Jordan Peele Get Out gesture made me think of a film that I guess is also horror, but ends in the opposite gesture.
Yeah.
Clean and Slim.
I haven't seen Queen and Slim.
Oh, well.
They're gonna kick me at the Black Club. It's fine.
No, you're fine.
Oh, I should. No one. I heard no one enjoyed that.
Well, it was traumatizing.
Oh, it was painful.
I promise I'm gonna.
No, I'm gonna see how I'll see how it'll come back around.
Because you were talking about that, the kind of the pivot gesture that is like, this is horror. You can feel and you will breathe again.
Yeah.
And I think what happens at the end of that film is like the refusal of the breath. It's actually like, this is the most grotesque way this could have ended, which, you know,
it has its place.
It does.
But and I maybe think not then.
To that point, right.
Yeah.
Because it's like police shooting.
We were not ready for that.
We were not dark-skinned Black people's bodies because they were betrayed by another Black man. Like, what are you saying to me?
It's like, oh,
you know,
you want me to be upset,
something like that, right? And people, myself included, were bereft. And I think that there's something slippery happening that spending time with your work has me really thinking about. Is like, where do we demarcate what is horror, what is like, I don't know, all the fancy film words where they're like making film to represent life, you know. There's like this interesting middle space, but I do think there's something, you know, self-aware in your like investment in like writing in the horror genre, that makes the choices you make, the things you describe, feel meaningful.
Like pain with a purpose versus pain without a purpose, of like showing something horrible just to be like, I've shown you something horrible, versus being like, I've shown you something horrible, now what are you going to do about it?
Right. And it's pain, right, that helps the characters. Help is a wrong word, but like, it is an agent of change within the narrative of the characters somehow, some way, which I think is what we would all hope for some manifestations of our healing processes to do, whether that's the physical healing of the keloid scar or the like internal metaphysical healing, all of that.
This is really great.
Thank you. No, I tried. But it's easy when the work is so brilliant. I'm not like, truly. I don't know, is this a moment to pivot for audience questions? Come join us in this space. Oh, we have two in the room.
Hold on, I'm gonna bring you the microphone.
This is my audience plan.
My voice is big now.
Yes.
Okay. Sister, I can't think about you. My name is Charis. I am a longtime friend of Yah Yah. We was girls together. So I'm really transfixed by your novel, because I think about Toni Morrison saying how her book is like an escape route. You know, I've been thinking about the North Star a lot lately.
Yes.
Like, the cultural memory still remains, the necessity of that cultural memory to pass on, the necessity of an escape route. And your story really reminds me of how, as a child, I work with children a lot, so I'm reflecting a lot on children's memories. As a child, when I would read those books about about historical fictional novels about Black people escaping slavery, you know, the myth of the runaway has always involved some sort of like from the American memory. This peaceful exit, this sneaking away in the shadows. But when I think about what you said about illuminating how horror illuminates like the darkness, the dark things, and it makes it easier to live with them. There's like a necessity in examining the horrors of slavery, and also the horrific violence it took to escape in the first place. There's like an explosive moment where you say, my body can't take this anymore. And you have to, the narrative always, what is the word, hides away the matter of fact of, they had to kill these people that they helped raise their children, maybe loved them, cared for them. They lived that close with their oppressor. Of course they loved them, but they had to go. The sickness was inside of my body. The sickness of their memory was inside of my body, trapped. There's just something like the work, the canon that your work goes into is so necessary to keep alive. And I feel so protective of it. I love it. I love what you did. Thank you so much.
Was there a question?
No. My question was, Actually, I did have a question. So to conclude the ranting and the raving, that narration you had of Candle, it was so erotic. It was so erotic. So I was just curious, like, what role did eroticism play in creating Candle as a character in addition to Nemoira?
Ooh, that's such a fancy, good question. I regret asking if you had a question. I don't know how to answer that.
Could I actually simplify it so I know what I'm even asking?
Yes.
Okay, so what is it that you desired? What is it that you desire to see in like lesbian love that sort of illuminated like Nemoira and drove that characterization of Candle and the erotic in your novel?
Okay. So between Jude and Nemoira in particular, at first I was thinking like it would be nice. Not only would it be nice, it would be perfect to have somebody just come and hold the weight for me. And the house does the same too. Just like I need someone to look at my scars and hold the weight and hold my trauma and all the sad, miserable stuff of my past, and just to be like, I got it. I can take care of you for now. I got all of it. But the issue, not so much with the house, but what we see with Nemoira is you can't really, nobody can hold you. Like you can trust people to keep you in their arms for a little while, but the full, total weight of you, while it can be held and adjusted, you have to hold a good part of yourself. And Candle does the rest of the holding. I feel like what she misses with Nemoira, which is the true understanding that though her trauma has changed her on like a cellular level, the way that trauma does, it hasn't made her unhuman. Because at the end of the day, she is still a person. She's still Jude. She's still a human being. So it's I hope this is making sense.
It's almost like privacy is the sexiest thing ever. Like,
and withholding is the sexiest thing ever. Somebody take this lady's mic.
Hey, we about to get raunchy at the feminist bookstore. Who's next?
I love it.
Hi. Okay, I'm not going to introduce myself. Brilliant to hear you sort of talk through and process and think about the lineage, the literary and otherwise lineages of your work and the people that you think with and through. And I'm really obsessed with like intertextuality anyway. So it was brilliant. I'm curious about well, I'll just say randomly.
Yeah.
One thing I was curious about, if Joelle Gomez is the Gilda Stories, has it all come up for you?
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay. I also, so
but
that's
on the
great.
lighter note, I don't remember.
Was it? I looked at it earlier, but I couldn't recall. And so then as you were talking, I was like, is it on there?
It's on the lighter notes, but Gilda Stories was the major one.
Yeah, sure. Okay. But I am curious about In the Dream House. How In the Dream House kind of comes up for you. I think that is
so
a really bizarre and difficult book. No, it's brilliant. But it's bizarre in that like it comes straight out the gate.
Yeah.
And like drives you all the way. So yeah.
There's levels to it. So I have to tell the story about how In the Dream House makes sense. I have to go back to me being 12 years old on Tumblr. Everyone scream. But on 12 years old at Tumblr, I at that point had been sexually assaulted a couple of times. And in that era, I was being 13, 14. I was being groomed. No touch, but I was being groomed. I was being shown a lot of like really, really disgusting kind of basically exploitative child material in order to like lower my inhibitions. I was told like, oh, the age of consent is this and this and that. And in my mind, I was transforming my trauma into a thing that was sexy and empowering. I was telling myself at 13, 14, like, no, it's so okay. And if you get yourself a nice older man, he'll take care of you. It'll be okay. And I was like being told this and I was internalizing it. And even as I was like coming out of it and understanding that that was a horrible thing to have happened to me, it wasn't until like a couple of years ago when one of my best friends, Baya, had looked at me and she said, because I was writing some passage, I was like, wouldn't it be like, I was talking about the sexiness of getting stabbed. And she said, I think you tend to eroticize violence because you think it is the only way for you to have control. And I think that you're afraid of being a victim. And there's nothing wrong with being a victim. You didn't do anything wrong. Nothing was stolen from you. Nothing about you is ruined. And there is no shame in what happened to you. It's shameful that someone did that to you. And it's shameful that someone tried to get into your mind and basically make porn out of like the worst thing that happened to you. And so that was connected to in the dream house, because I'm reading someone go, you don't have to like hold it into yourself. And there isn't something sexy about abuse just because it's now lesbians or it's now like gay men. And it's made me be like, oh, I am allowed to say that what those people did to me when I was like 13, 14, 15 was bad, even though they were also gay.
Mm-hmm.
And so that connects with on Sundays, because Jude is telling herself, Jude may not be thinking like, oh, I can't tell anyone this weird twisting thing I have with Nomura. It's more so with Jude and her mother of like, I can't tell anyone what's happening because this is what it is about being Black. This is just what it is to be Black. It's to get beat. It's being told because I love you. It's just, I would say the connection is unlearning the it just is what it is and unlearning the shame of being a victim. If that copies, if that reads, if the church is feeling it. Okay. Amen. Turn to your neighbor and say, whoa.
Whoa. That I think that in the dream house is like not a text that I've gotten to talk to a lot of people about, but it is one of the most transformative texts about like queer domestic violence that I've ever read. And so I was just curious about that. But thank you for sharing your answer.
Thank you.
Folks online just wanted to know if, just sort of more generally outside of the horror realm, if there were any other books that inspired you.
Oh, hold on. I'm gonna to lighter notes. Of course, my family chooses now to blow up my phone. I love their timing. Let's find them. Okay, so other books, not exactly in the horror genre. There is The Salt Eaters by Toni Cade Bambara. There is For Colored Girls Who Have Considered Suicide When the Rainbow Is Enough. O Caledonia by Elspeth Barker. It's, I guess you can kind of consider it a gothic book, but it's not really horror at all. In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado. Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. And what else? Oh, Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, if that's how you pronounce her name. I've never been sure. I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. Red Dragon by Thomas Harris. Zombie, A New Spelling of My Name. Yes, that's it for the books. There's like a billion movies, but those aren't it.
Those are all great. I love all of those references. Could you say a little bit more about how you think about the difference between the gothic and horror? I know you talked about like the essential gothicness of Blackness in the South, but for folks who don't know, like some folks aren't as educated around like what the gothic is, as was like being a goth.
Okay. I'm gonna hold on, because I know it in my head, but you know how like something like in you, but explaining it sounds crazy. So it is. So horror in general is about being scared. It's about being like, it's a ghost popping out at you. It's a monster popping out at you. I would say with the gothic genre, gothic in general, sorry, stumbling over my words, it's more so about the feeling of terror. All good gothic is horror, but not all horror is gothic. With gothicness is more involved about the architecture. So the houses crumbling, the people in the houses being entwined, the land and the house and manners and such being its own character is a major facet. So like Beloved, gothic. Wuthering Heights, gothic. Carrie by Stephen King, horror. Frankenstein, gothic horror. Dracula, gothic horror. But it's just like they're like cousins, but they're not. They know each other. Is there a question from the class?
So I'm asking like a clarifying question. So is it like in the Gothic, the horror lives like inside of the body, rather than as a reaction?
Outside, yes.
Okay.
It's more inner than outer. But also you have to be within the architecture.
That actually led me to another question.
Take this lady's mic.
Oh. So women can't speak now.
At the feminist bookstore. Yeah, go ahead, ask your question.
You know, we play all day. Anyways, so would you say that there's a difference between like Black horror and Black Gothic, considering the use of like internal fear, like the way that we internalize fear, the way that our existence itself is a horror to society? So it's like it's always gonna, that fear is always gonna be internal.
I don't think you can separate it, because being Black is horrific. It's awesome, but the way people react to us makes it horrific. It's Gothic as hell, especially down south, but with the plantations and like, honestly, I think even the way projects are, even the way projects are, and the fact that like you go to any like quote unquote rough neighborhood, we have like the little shrines to people who have passed. I think it's inherently goth. Down here, it's inherently horrific, horrifying.
Could I add a comment as like a nerd?
Add a comment, go ahead.
So that reminds me of when I read Playing in the Dark by Toni Morrison. She goes on to describe the way that American Gothic, it almost functions similarly to how horror does.
Yes.
But when we're looking at the mainstream American, read Caucasian, or assimilationist immigrants as well. We're looking at the horrors of a people who are terrified of Blackness. So all of their themes of horror and Gothicness,
it's a fear of being Black. It's a fear of being perceived as Black.
Whereas when we look at like Black culture and the use of language as memory, the use of oral traditions, even y'all heard the clips of that really creepy like Memphis rap track.
Oh, I love Memphis rap.
Almost all rap is horrific rap, because we're talking about killers. So the oral tradition has always been necessary, and so that sort of ongoing memory, the way that Black literary canon doesn't just serve a function of sitting on your shelves and looking pretty as a trophy or should gain awards. It's to transmit something that is an escape route. It's a way to transmit, this is the North Star, head that way.
Yes. Guys, this is my best friend. Her brain's literally huge.
Y'all are blowing my brains, as you said earlier, because I'm really sitting here like, and I'm actually curious what you think about this, because if the Black experience is inherently horrific, which I am convinced now, right? Even as I think about a memorialization and just like the haunting specter of death everywhere, like, should we call it all horror, or should we assert Blackness onto horror? If you follow,
I don't know if it can be done, because it feels so like you can't take it apart. Thinking more about like the inherent, like our obsession with death, for example. I think about us in the church. Don't give this lady the mic no more. Okay. I think about how it is in the church, with this like love and passion for death of like, oh my goodness, I can't wait for death to take me out of here. Like this life is a toil, this life is hard. I can't wait for that chariot to take me away. I can't wait for God to pick me up. All of it feels so intrinsically like dark and horrific. I don't know if you can like, it feels almost pointless to say, and now this is Black horror. It's just like, and this is horror. But now we're showing Black people in it.
Yeah. I mean, and there's like even the whole concept that, you know, Christianity was imparted onto enslaved people, that you can't have freedom in this world, but you can have it in the next, is horrific.
So scary.
And I just like, this is like reframe. It's truly paradigm shifting. And I'm also thinking to your first point about escape and how we kind of have a tendency to disconnect the narrative of the runaway from the violence, horror that spurns it. I was thinking about Frederick Douglass and how we talk about the story of his escape and he got into a fight with the master, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But there was all this discourse in Black studies about his Aunt Hester's screams and how it's actually the intense agony of overhearing his aunt being assaulted that is that moment for him.
That pushes him.
Pushes him. So then, centuries later, you have Black studies scholars like Saidiya Hartman and Fred Moten debating if we need to repeat the scene of that violence.
Yeah.
And I think you're offering something really interesting in the way you think about the function and catharsis of horror, which I think, like, I don't know, that it brings that there's something about the element of imagination that helps us to metabolize these stories in ways that maybe just like copy paste wouldn't.
Wig.
Hi, it's me again. So I just wanted to comment on the beauty of that. We had like a very ancient conversation about how Black Americans are essentially indigenous.
We did.
And I think that your novel really serves an amazing example of where the presence of cultural memory, both in language, in resisting colonial language and descriptors of saying, well, we don't really care whether we draw a line between Black horror, Black Gothic, because what we're writing about or we're making, it just is our reality.
It just is.
It's descriptive rather than decorative. It also reminds me of the unpopular historical experience of having a Black language, a Black English in America, where talking the way we talk it's always been a secret code. It's always been a way of sort of like evading the white person's ear. Once you code switch, it's a means of making plans, talking about like, having like a different set of Bible verses that you quote that allows for, this is the signal that we're about to go.
Yes.
And I think that I think that's why the Black cultural memory and the Black cultural mark in America has to be so protected. Because those memories are what we need now. That even the discussions we had in the car about, ICE has always been slave patrol, that's something that we somatically know through memory. And I would like to clarify that I'm actually not Black American, I'm African, but I had to learn how to live in America through a Black Southern lens.
Thank you.
Genius.
Are there any online questions?
Oh, I think y'all have done such a beautiful job of taking this text to the next level. I think
brilliant.
This is beautiful, and it shows you that fiction really does, open worlds for us, both the affective and also teaches how to be effective in the world, right? Like, because horror does that sort of mental training. Like it helps us think through, like, if I was in this situation, what would I do? All that, it's like it is a way of helping us sort of intellectually prep for violence also.
Yes.
And it's a form of like teaching us about survival, right?
Yeah.
So I think it is important, especially right now. So I'm really glad that you are here. I'm glad that all of y'all are here. For all, give it up one more time. For all of our folks who are watching online, you can buy on Sundays She Picked Flowers from Charis by clicking the teal button at the bottom center of the screen. It really does help us when you buy your event books from Charis, so thank you for doing that. And for all of y'all, we got books up front. We love it when you support debut authors, and we love it when you support Charis. So
I love it when you support debut authors.
Yes, support Yah Yah. We also have Ra's poetry up front if you were interested in Ra's work. And we would love for y'all to get your book signed. So Yah Yah's just going to chill right there. I'm going to bring you a pin, and folks can come directly to you. But thank you all so much for being with us tonight. Congratulations.
Oh, man.